Hi guys, I am in my PJs, got my striped PJ pants on, comfortable t-shirt, shout out to Braves Volleyball, whoop whoop. I am going to be reading Whatshisface 17, 18, and 19. They're shorter chapters, so I figured, hey, I got time, let's go ahead and read it. So, here we go. Alright, chapter 17 is called Public Enemy Number 1. This can't be good. At the urging of the teachers, all of the students gather around Stratford's wealthiest citizen. I'm hearing great things about your progress in rehearsal, and I can't wait to be there in front row on opening night of Romeo and Juliet. The billionaire tells them, "You know, when your little community offered me such a warm welcome, I thought of all the ways that I could give back. And the greatest gift I have is my love of the Bard of Avon, William Shakespeare, the most superlative playwright and the poet in this world has ever produced." "This attraction is most mysterious," Roddy intones through his earbud. "Methinks I cannot resist it." "Shh," Cooper hisses. "Excuse me?" Mr. Wolfson's sharp gaze is suddenly riveted on Cooper. "You have a question?" "Oh, sorry to interrupt." "Nonsense," Mr. Wolfson beams. "I'm anxious to hear your take on what you've seen. First things first, what is your role in Romeo and Juliet?" "I'm Cooper Reddin's second watchman." An amused chuckle breezes through the student body. The billionaire smiles tolerantly. Every role, no matter how small, represents a vital part of Shakespeare's genius vision. "Now what's your question, young man?" "Oh, I don't have a..." Cooper begins. "The door," Roddy exclaims via the earbud. "Ask about the door." "What's behind that door over there?" Cooper blurts. Mr. Wolfson's smile disappears. "That's just a storage room." "Storage for what?" Cooper persists. "Really, young man?" The billionaire is losing patience. "We're surrounded by such treasures as most people only dream of seeing, and all you can think of is where the mops and brooms are kept." "I must see for myself," Roddy announces in the earbud. There's a click, and the ghost spectral form begins to rise out of the phone. Cooper does the only thing he can think of to distract everyone's attention from Roddy's escape. He launches into a coughing fit that has him hugging one of the side display cases and fogging the glass. Out of the corner of his eye, he spies the ghost sailing over heads and first folios down the long room to the mysterious door. There he reshapes himself into a long thin ribbon and wafts through in the keyhole. At last, Cooper straightens up and attempts to clean off the glass with his sleeve. "Never mind that," Mr. Wolfson snaps, irritated. "Does anyone have a real question? You've just taken a tour through the most complete collection in the world of the works of one true bard." "Are you sure he's as true as you think he is?" Cooper interrupts. Mr. Marchese shoots him a warning look. "You're speaking of the theory that some of the Shakespeare works were written by the other playwrights of the time," the billionaire says stiffly. "It's all nonsense, of course. No serious scholar believes that." "What about Barnabas and Ursula?" Cooper challenges. Mr. Wolfson's shock is too genuine to be faked. His face turns brick red and his eyes bulge. He opens his mouth to speak, but no sound comes out. All eyes turn to Cooper. No one can remember ever seeing the great Somerset Wolfson so completely at a loss. "I don't get it," puts in Brock in a loud voice. "Who are Barnabas and Ursula?" The billionaire finds his voice at last. "I believe this tour has come to an end," he says in a subdued tone that is a shadow of his enthusiastic welcome. "Your buses will be waiting in the main driveway." Without another word, he leaves them, wending his way among the display cases to an exit. "I don't know what just happened," Brock announces with a laugh, "but it was definitely What's-His-Face's fault." "That's enough." Mr. Marchese's face is unnaturally pale. "We've never been asked to leave before. This is a disaster. Now form a line and let's go." "But we're not ready to go," Cooper protests. He's in a panic. "What about Roddy, who is still in the secret room?" "We haven't looked at all those great first folios yet." The director's angry. "I hope you're kidding, Cooper. You can't be the only one who missed the fact that we've been kicked out, and probably because of you. I don't know what you said back there, but it clearly upset Mr. Wolfson. Now move it along." Hoping to stall for some time, Cooper shuffles to the back of the line. He gets a little dirty look from his fellow cast members. Everybody knows who What's-His-Face is now. He's the public enemy number one. Only Brock has a smile for him. Smooth move, Romeo. Where are your brains? Jolie regards Cooper sadly. What if Mr. Wolfson doesn't come to our show? She looks disappointed. The last thing Cooper wants is to disappoint her, and in that moment, he feels more like an outsider than ever before. No local would ever risk insulting Mr. Wolfson in his own museum. It takes the new guy to do that. Yet, as upset as Cooper is, he's even more worried about Roddy. As the group from the middle school marches out of the gallery, he keeps an eye on the mysterious door, hoping against hope to see Roddy's spectral form heading for home in the GX4000. No luck. Cooper pauses at the museum's front door. Come on, Roddy, where are you? Hurry up, Cooper, Mr. Marchese prods. Why are you dragging your feet? I should probably go to the bathroom before we drive, Cooper stammers. We'll be at school in 15 minutes. You can make it that long. Yes, but can Roddy? What if the phone isn't there to receive him when he's done exploring the secret room? Sure, the ghost is able to cover some distance when he's out exploring, but in those cases, Roddy always knew where home base was. The phone wasn't getting on a bus to travel halfway across town. What if Roddy can't find his way back? What if he can travel that far? What happens to a ghost who has no place to go? Obviously, Roddy can't die. That happened a long time ago. But will he be doomed to wander forever? Cooper shuffles across the driveway. All 3 buses are loaded now, and the first 2 are pulling away. Mr. Marchese stands at the entrance to the third, twirling one arm in gesture of his impatience. As Cooper steps aboard, he considers going down with a twisted ankle. No, the director would never buy it. Neither will the other kids. He scans the bus for a friendly face and comes up empty. The door closes behind him and the bus engine roars to life. Sorry, Roddy, I tried. They head down the drive and just about to pass through the gates when a shimmering cloud shoots out of the one museum skylights, making a beeline for the bus. Cooper spots it through the emergency door in the back and Roddy in hot pursuit. He leaps into the aisle and barks, "Stop!" The driver glances him in the rearview mirror. "Sit down, you." Mr. Marchese has reached the end of his rope. "Take your seat." From the row behind, Brock reaches up, grabs Cooper by the back of the collar, and hauls him down to the bench. Since all eyes are on Cooper, nobody sees the blob of faint shimmering light attached itself to the bus emergency door. It hangs there for a brief second and then oozes inside through a tiny crack in the glass. A split second later, it slips into Cooper's pocket and disappears. Weak with relief, Cooper slumps into his seat. Roddy's safe, that's all that matters. Barely have Cooper's shoulders touch the backrest when the earbud bursts to life. "'Tis there, Koopa Vega. I have seen it with the very eyes." "What?" Cooper whispers. "Barnabas and Ursula," comes the supercharged reply. "The play that I never lived to finish. 'Tis there, verily, and in my own hand." Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 18. Proof positive. For the rest of the day, Cooper's mind is a whirl. There are so many things he has to ask Roddy, but back at school, that's impossible. Miss Marchese has been watching him like a hawk ever since his strange behavior in Wolfson Collection. His fellow students are all over him too, curious about his altercation with Stratford's most famous resident. Being What's-His-Face wasn't fun, but at least he could rely on having a little privacy. Now he's the nutjob who got the entire 7th grade kicked out of the museum, and everyone's interested in what makes him tick and why. Even in seclusion of a bathroom stall, he's aware of his next-door neighbor possibly listening. The last thing he can risk is a long, one-sided conversation with a ghost on his cell phone. But the suspense is killing him. Roddy has so much to tell him. The secret collection is real, and it has the ghost's original manuscript in it. To make matters worse, Roddy hasn't shut up since his arrival back on the bus. As Cooper tries to struggle through the rest of the day without getting anyone else mad at him, his head is being filled with endless details of the secret gallery behind the door. Costumes, props from Shakespeare's career as an actor, furniture, clothing from his house in Stratford-upon-Avon, documents with his signature, including his certificate of marriage to one Anne Hathaway. Not the actress now. And each of these objects doth bear a seal or marking proclaiming that it be property of a great museum or library. Roddy concludes, dost thou not see these things are hidden behind a locked door because they are stolen, just as sure as Barnabas and Ursula was stolen from me by Shakespeare himself. I get it, Cooper hisses. I just can't talk right now. But Cooper Vega, thou must listen to me. It gets so bad that Cooper removes the wireless earbud. He can feel it in his pockets buzzing away as the ghost goes on and on. Insulted, Roddy lets himself out of the phone and circles Cooper's head, shaking a shimmering fist. A highly risky move in the middle of social studies class. After school in the privacy of his room, Cooper pops the earbud back in. Roddy sounds a little insulted. Forsooth. Now thou hast time for me, Elizabethan sarcasm. Sorry, Cooper apologizes. It's just that is a huge thing we have to walk out and talk out. There's no way I could have done that in the middle of school. Not after I got into that beef with the wolf. Beef? Roddy queries. I wasn't aware that dinner was served. Never mind that. The point is the guy's a crook with a secret gallery full of stolen artifacts that he can't show anybody or he'll get busted. You know, the watch will come after him. There is but one part I understand not, the ghost says, frowning in concentration on the screen. The wolf cannot exhibit the stolen items. This is as clear as the dawn, but why doth he conceals Barnabas and Ursula? Yeah, it was stolen, verily, but by Shakespeare, not by him. And it is too late to arrest Shakespeare, though a more welcome addition to Tyburn Gallows I cannot imagine. Don't you get it? Cooper explains. If the wolf displayed Barnabas and Ursula, that would show the whole world proof positive that Shakespeare ripped off Romeo and Juliet. The first 3/4 of it, anyways. Basically, he'd be admitting that he devoted his entire life and fortune to a big fake, and even made the people around here change the name of their town to Stratford in honor of you-know-who. And if the great William Shakespeare jacked one of his most famous plays, you've got to wonder what else he helped himself to. His reputation would basically be shot. Trust me, the last thing the wolf wants is for anybody to find out about Barnabas and Ursula. Thou must shout it from the rooftops, Roddy insists. You're not serious. You remember what it's like to be a kid? Did anybody listen to you in 1596? Well, it isn't any different today. What am I supposed to do? Call up the newspaper and say, you know that playwright everybody thinks is the greatest genius of all time? Well, he's a phony. And how do I know? My pet ghost told me. Yeah, that'll work. Thou hast reason, Cooper Vega, Roddy concedes, but the solution is simple. I shall accompany thee. No man can deny the existence of a ghost that he sees with his own eyes, even if that ghost doth appear only on a phone. It's too dangerous, Cooper tells him. Thou needest not worry that I might be killed. The galleon hath already set sail. It's not that, Cooper explains. Most people don't believe in ghosts in my world. If I let anybody see you, every scientist in the world is going to come down on us. They'll take the phone apart circuit by circuit until there's nothing left but dust. And what happens to you? Where will you go? Will you have to wander forever? Nothing but a cloud of sparkles? Will you just disappear? Thou paintest a grim picture, Roddy laments. Verily my time was cruel with the plague, harsh laws, and grinding poverty. But what improvements hath the centuries bought if there's no justice for my Barnabas and Ursula? It stinks, Cooper agrees, but there's nothing we can do about it. The performance is on Saturday. Tomorrow the evening rehearsals start. We aren't going to have time for anything but Romeo and Juliet. Sorry, Roddy. 'Tis not thy fault, Cooper Vega, says Roddy, but Cooper detects an expression on the ghost's face that he can't quite identify. All right, chapter 19, The Killer Cloud. Oh no. With the performance just a few days away, the 7th grade kicks into high gear. It's tech week, where every rehearsal is a full dress rehearsal. The morning sessions are canceled. Mr. Marchese wants his cast and crew well rested, but afternoon run-through now stretches from the end of school until 6 p.m. Every night after quick dinner, the students rush back to work until almost 10. Cast members with small roles like Cooper and Aiden are recruited to help the staging crew finalize the sets, attach rollers for quick and silent scene changes. The spotlights are lovingly nudged into position overhead. The teachers walk around with dazed looks on their faces, as if they're hunted animals who haven't slept in weeks. Mr. Marchese is never seen without his script, which is such a mass of scribbles and post-it notes that resemble the giant head of a monster about to eat him. The halls ring with forsooths and methinks. It isn't a big change for Cooper, who hears such words regularly through his earbud, but for the students of Stratford Middle School, it means one thing: 0 hour is bearing down on them. Another perk: homework is suspended until after the performance. There wouldn't be enough time to do it anyway. The cast and crew are stretched to the limit. Night after night, Cooper falls asleep on the living room couch, leaving the GX4000 propped on the pillows so Roddy can watch reruns of The Big Bang Theory. Without the AM casting call, mornings are a lot less stressful. No longer does Cooper have to scramble to catch the early bus. He can walk to school at a leisurely pace. The only drawback is Brock and Jolie. With a marathon of rehearsals taking up practically every spare minute, Romeo and Juliet have become closer than ever. It's especially painful to Cooper. At the Capulets' ball, it really seemed as if Jolie was gravitating away from Brock and in Cooper's direction. Not anymore. The disaster at the Wolfson Museum put an end to that. Cooper made such, I don't like this word, but an idiot out of himself in front of the entire 7th grade and ticked off Stratford's resident VIP in the process. According to the latest scuttlebutt, the billionaire is still planning to attend Romeo and Juliet. But everybody knows for sure that's in spite of Cooper, not because of him. How could it be worse? There's probably some way, but Cooper can't think of one. Brock and Jolie are inseparable all through Tech Week. Brock even got a new BMX bike so he can ride to school with her. They detour through the dry creek bed that curls behind the school. It's a wooded path, but not wooded enough that Cooper doesn't have to watch them bouncing along through the ruts and hear their excited chatter. Brock, who has a voice that travels for miles, bellows, "What a rush!" He's obviously trying to convince her that they have so much in common because he shares her love for extreme sports. Even Roddy sees it from GX4000. Such shameless pandering, he tut-tuts. It would serve him right after he breaks his neck, Cooper agrees morsely. With a click, Roddy's ghostly form bursts out of the phone and hurtles across the field towards the woods. Cooper watches in horror as the shimmering shape swoops down on the two bikes, and for an instant, the cloud encircles Brock's helmeted head. With a cry of shock, Brock panics and slams on his brakes. The bike lurches to a halt, launching him over the handlebars. He sails through the air and makes a three-point landing on his knees and his nose. "Brock!" Jolie screams. Cooper takes off across the field, high-stepping through the weeds in the direction of fallen Brock. Halfway there, Roddy returns to the GX4000. "How now, Cooper Vega?" he says in a smug tone. "What thinkest thee of that?" "Why would you do that?" Cooper rasps. "It was thy idea," the ghost replies. "I did it to please thee." By the time Cooper reaches the scene of the face-planting Brock is sitting up beside his fallen bike, the helmet in his lap. His jeans are ripped to the knees. His nose is streaming crimson. Jolie has torn the first page off the script and holds it against his face like a handkerchief. It's soaked through with blood so that you can barely read the words Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. "What happened?" Cooper asks. Of course he knows exactly what happened, but there's no way Brock and Jolie could realize that they've been victims of a ghost attack. "He lost control of the bike," Jolie explains. There are bloodstains on her Yosemite Bungee Brigade shirt. "I didn't lose control," Brock rages in a nasal voice. "Suddenly there was this cloud around me and everything went all blurry." Cooper and Jolie look up. The sky is bright blue and utterly cloudless. Brock becomes even more agitated. "It was a very small cloud and it came right at me." "A BMX bike isn't a toy," Jolie exclaims. "It's a sophisticated piece of athletic equipment. If you slam on your brakes when you're going fast, you're going to throw yourself off." "What do you know?" Brock demands. "It really, really hurts." "We've got to get him to the nurse," Jolie tells Cooper. "She'll put ice on that nose before the swelling gets too bad." "Now Whatshisface is in on this too?" Brock's voice is even more outraged. "What are you, EMTs?" "His caterwauling remindeth me of this mewing of an infant," Roddy comments through the earbud. Cooper's torn. On one hand, he has no great love for Brock. He don't like him, and for a very good reason. On the other hand, this is Roddy's fault, done as a result of something Cooper said. Jolie, the extreme athlete, considers this just another wipeout. It happens to her all the time and she always bounces back, but Cooper doesn't like the amount of blood pouring out of Brock's nose, now soaking the script clear through Act 1, Scene 9. Scene 3. Jolie abandons her bike and she and Cooper begin walking Brock towards the school. Not so fast, Brock complains. My knees are hurt too, you know. They sting like crazy. For the first time, Jolie looks a little worried. As Brock's injured nose swells, his voice becomes increasingly high-pitched and nasal. When he talks about my knees, it becomes out by D's. This is the guy who's supposed to star in Romeo in 2 days. Chuckling sounds come from the earbud. They're crossing the soccer field, leaving a trail of blood droplets. And when Aiden abandons the game and comes running, whoa, what happened to him? It was a cloud, Brock bubbles. A cloud of what? Vampire bats? More like baseball bats, put in another soccer teammate. You guys are hilarious, Brock is bitter. I'm dying and you're cracking jokes. I'm dying, Roddy mimics through the earbud. Shh, Cooper hisses. Alerted by one of the students, the nurses come rushing out of the school. The nurse comes racing out of the school. Mr. Marchese, hot on her heels. Brock, the director exclaims at the sight of leading man dripping blood all over the grass. Hi, Mr. Marchese. Mr. Marchese. A cloud got him. Aiden explains tragically. Bad. Jolie speaks up. It's my fault. We were BMXing to school and I forgot he's not as experienced as I am. Her eyes widen. What if he can't play Romeo on Saturday? Don't even say that out loud, the director begs. I'm fine, Brock insists. I'm fine. I'll be the judge of that, the nurse insists. I'll drive him to the hospital. That nose should be x-rayed. Oh no. All right. So we'll see what happens and we'll continue tomorrow and see what happens to Brock and if Cooper will really get the chance to play Romeo. Bye, guys.